So hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So nice to have you here. Let's talk about self-esteem today. Okay, so hi guys, my name is Wachku Person and you're welcome to my YouTube channel as they call it. Anyway, this is my first one. So I will talk about starting this. I've always had the idea. I've talked to God about it. I've told God, oh, get me this particular material. Once you get me this particular material, I'll get it. But here I am, just starting it in 2023. Anyways, if you're here, you're welcome. And we're just going to go right into it. So I don't waste your time and you don't waste mine. Okay, you can't waste mine. I'm invested in you, right? So here's the breakdown of what this is all going to be about. It's going to be from lifestyle to life, but majorly centered about God at the center of every part of your life. Self-esteem, that's what we're talking about today. And the truth is that so many people have come to me and asked me questions on how do I build my self-esteem? How do I come out of myself and put myself out there like you do? And I'm like, you just put yourself out there by putting yourself out there, right? But many of us have heard things like believe in yourself. That's what everybody tells you. Oh, believe in yourself. Just believe in yourself. You are enough. It's difficult to believe in yourself. I can tell you this as the honest truth. It is very difficult to believe in yourself. But now I'm going to be showing you practical steps on how to believe in yourself without being too extra. Now, when it comes to self-esteem, it's simply defined as believing in yourself, believing that you can do what someone said you can't or what you thought you can't, believing that you are enough, believing that you can, you have ability to do things. It's basically believing that you are human and God has placed in you lots of abilities and God has a purpose for you, believing that you are special, believing that you are more than just being normal. You are something more, right? And so it's difficult for people to push themselves from what people have told them and what they've thought about themselves to this place where people can say, wow, she believes in herself so much, right? And that is where people find the problem. How do I move from a place of not believing in myself to believing in myself? And I'm here to show you those practical steps. Now, number one, the first thing you need to know about believing in yourself or building your self-esteem is that you need to know yourself. Many times, in this our world today, we hardly spend time with ourselves. Most people are usually either in the midst of friends or whiling away their thoughts or in their phones, just invested in knowing other people, just invested in, getting to do other things than spending time with themselves. Now, here are reasons why you need to spend time with yourself. Number one of the reasons why you need to spend time with yourself is that you get to learn about yourself when you spend time with yourself. You can literally, in spending time with yourself, you can begin to notice how your body and how your mind thinks and how your mind reacts, because the scripture tells us that created each of us with different purpose. We are specially made. You get so God did not create me. God did not create me the same way God created you. The kind of mind God gave me is not the kind of mind God gave you. The kind of thoughts that God put into me and kind of thought process I have to go through to get to somewhere, it's not the same thought process that you have to go to get somewhere. For you, it might be a shorter route. For me, it might be a longer route. The way I react to issues will be different from the way you react to issues. So when you begin to learn of yourself, when you begin to learn of yourself, you begin to see yourself in a better light than you saw yourself before. And then one of the great things you cannot put away when you're learning about yourself is studying the scripture. See, I can tell you this for free. If you learn about your maker, you will understand your makeup. If you learn about your maker, you understand your makeup. Look at it this way. Now, if you Pick up an iPhone, for instance. If you've learnt about Apple, you know that there are certain things that Apple must certainly put in their product. But if you just pick up an iPhone and you've never known Apple, you've never known the features of Apple, you're going to be confused. But the fact that you have studied Apple for a while and you know their patterns, you know the kind of things and the kind of innovations they can bring forth, it makes it easier for you to, pick up, or when you pick up an iPhone 12, iPhone 15, you can easily use them. So that's the thing. The importance of you getting to know God is that it rubs up on the knowledge that you have on yourself. When you begin to spend time with God, the scripture says, as we behold Him, we become more like Him because we are created in the very image of God. And God doesn't have low self-esteem. God believes in Himself. That's why the scripture tells us that when God was looking for who to swear by, He swore by Himself because there was no one greater than Him. So, in simple terms, if you learn and begin to study about God, you get to know yourself. It's just a simple math. So, if you ask me, that's one of the ways I built my self-esteem. The more I spend time with scriptures, the more I spend time with um, worship and in prayer, the more God began to tell me a lot about myself that I didn't even know. And the more I tapped into those things He told me, I realized this guy knows me. God knows me more than I know myself. And so that's the thing. That's where it comes from. So the question you should ask yourself is, do you know God? If you know God, you will know yourself because God perfectly tells you who you are. Sometimes you don't even look like what God is telling you that you are. But the more you begin to study about Him, the more yourself begins to come into that consciousness that this is actually who I am. A in scripture, we see a cowardly Gideon being called bold and courageous. We see God calling people by what He has made them to be as opposed to what they are now. Do you understand? So, learn about God. You get to learn about yourself. Spend time with yourself. Also, spend time with God. Number two, identify your triggers. The truth about self esteem is that we have triggers. We have triggers. There are certain things in ourselves uh, that influence how we see ourselves. Sometimes it may be how you speak. Like for me, I used to have certain speech deficiencies, which I still have, but I've just learned how to how to overcome them because I had this phenolon that didn't make my jaw aligned. So because of that, pronouncing certain things like T, like S, like D, and even with my diastema, it makes it difficult. And so because of that, I had issues just, believing in myself. But here's the thing. I identified the trigger and I worked on it. So identify the trigger. Now, some things is that sometimes, remember, I started with believing in yourself, understanding who you are, and then working through it. There are some things you can change. There are some things you have to accept about yourself. Now, and that's why the high point is a flow from who God is, who God has said you are, and then who you see yourself to be. So it must flow. So what has God called you? What has He said that you are? Bring yourself into believing it. And if there is an error that you've noticed, a trigger that makes you not to believe in yourself, can I change it? Yes. Can I not change? Can I change it? If the answer is no, that you can't change it, does it align with what God has called me? Oh, yes, it aligns with what God has called me. Then I'm going to bring myself into believing that that's who I am. Because when you identify, for instance, you could, I know someone, one of my cousins actually, she used to be fat when she was younger, and people would tease her and tease her and tease her. And, she identified it and started working on it. Now she believes in herself much more because she has lost the excess weight. So I'm not saying that it's a crime to be fat. There are some people, to be honest with you, who are naturally fat. There are some people who are naturally thin, and both people are teased. So both people, if you're that person that you have done everything necessary and the weight is not coming down, don't kill yourself. You have to own it. And yes, losing weight is actually healthy, but then if you're that person that you've done everything possible to lose the weight, eat with caution, but at the same time, belief that you are wonderfully and beautifully made. It could be the way you speak. And you've noticed that the way you speak is not proper or is not the best. You can work on it. Be committed to self development. People will always want to tease you. I always say something. You can insult me once, but you should not insult me the second time. So I won't even give you the opportunity to insult me the second time. And another thing, so I identified this is the issue. Are these people right? When people say things about you that affect your self esteem, that's why I say identify the triggers. Usually with young people, is what people are saying about them. Look through these things people are saying because I'm not the kind of person who will tell you, forget what they say, ignore them. No. Sometimes you need criticism to improve yourself. And sometimes the most criticized person in the room could be the person at the top. Many of the people you see at the top today, they worked on themselves. I saw a video of Simisola whereby Tim Godfrey was correcting her. And imagine if she got angry and left. She will not be the Simisola that we know today. But then look at her now singing all over the world, right? So criticism is beautiful. It will not kill you. So you have to first evaluate the criticism that is coming at you. Are these people right? Is this an issue? I don't speak well. I'm not going to tell you, hey, ignore them, own your bad English or own your bad intonations like that. No, commit yourself to development. And while they criticize and laugh, you know within yourself that you are in the place of development and you work towards it, right? And so it's the same thing with weight, it's the same thing with dressing, it's the same thing. I've always been of the opinion that you don't need to be rich to dress well, right? You don't need to be rich to dress well. You don't need to be extraordinary. You don't need to have a long wig, fixed lashes to look beautiful. Looking neat is really beautiful. So if the teasing is that you don't dress well and you look in the mirror and you see that, okay, I'm truly not dressing well, what do? You start working towards it. That if you have a friend you can call up, they can help you with fashion, a sister, a family member somewhere, start working towards it. And I'm saying work within your means because an important part of self-esteem, building your self-esteem, I don't believe in faking it. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in faking it. Work within your means. And I believe so much in contentment. Because when you begin to fake it, you don't build self esteem, you build a facade of self esteem. So what that means is that the moment someone comes into your real self and they see that, okay, oh, that thing you are wearing, you borrowed it, that clothes you are wearing, you borrowed it, like the real you is still the real you with low self-esteem. So if you're building your self-esteem, you have to work within your means. This is something I believe strongly. Work within your means. You don't need to borrow anything or go out of your way. Work within your means. A properly combed hair, a properly good look, a properly powdered face would always look beautiful, right? If you're around, and even in point of identifying your triggers, it's also sometimes it can be people. You might just be in the wrong crowd. I've seen some people who are not rich, but they just somehow like to be around rich people, right? They like to be around people that make them feel small. And it's not, these are not good rich people. These are rich people that would talk down on you and you just want to be around them because you want to feel among. Your low self-esteem, you're trying to treat it the wrong way. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You're trying to treat it the wrong way. So if there are people around you who are constantly putting you down, you have to stay away from them so that you can build your self-esteem without you faking who you are not. Because an important part of self-esteem is being real. And being real doesn't have to do with having bad character as they paint it on the internet today. Being real has to do with knowing who you are, knowing how much you have, living within your means. Do you get? So it's just that simple. So identify your triggers. Are they people? Are they issues? Are they? Yes, sometimes it could even be trauma. Trauma. Many times it could be trauma. So it could be trauma from an experience that you had in the past. I've met people whose self-esteem is actually affected by things like rape, things like sexual assault. And those ones, when it comes, if you are within this category, I believe so much that you need the healing of God, which can flow if you allow Him. And that's why I started with the importance of getting to know God and know what God has called you. We know that there are people in this world that make people feel worthless. They sexually assault girls or boys, and they bring you down to something low. They bring you down to what they are because they don't want you to fly, because their own life was affected and they want to pour it on you. And so there are people who have gone through these times in their life, and they are filled up with so much trauma. And I pray for you that the healing of God will flow through you. But I can assure you one thing: when it comes to healing traumas, He's 100% good at it. And He would walk you, if you spend time with Him, He will walk you through what He created you to be, what He has called you to be, the purpose He has given you, and the way He has made for you, even in the midst of your trauma. I've seen so many, and I've noticed something, that when you're in pain, the more you begin to heal others, the more your wounds begin to heal. So, also finding purpose is an important part of building your self esteem. And all these things sincerely flows from God. So, I've mentioned quite a lot of things in this first round of the video. I've talked about knowing God. I've talked about knowing yourself. I've talked about spending time with God. I've talked about identifying your triggers. Are they people? Are they events that have caused trauma in your life? Are they challenges, like how you speak, how fat you are, how slim you are? Are there things you can change? If you can change it, continually work on self-development. There is nothing greater than that. And if you can't change it, that's totally fine. Then own it, as long as it's in line with what God has called you to be. And why do I have to stress this point? Because I know there are people that say of themselves, as regards a lot of things, which I think you get what I'm talking about. And they say, oh, this is how I was born, I can't change it. God can never create you outside of what He doesn't permit. If God doesn't permit something, if God finds something an abomination, He won't create you to be that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's why I say always look to your maker so you can understand your makeup. I think that's something we should take away today. Look to your maker so you can understand your makeup. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm so excited. It's my very first one. Let me know in the comment section how you think I did. Did I do well? Is there something I need to improve to make it better for you to catch on, or make it better for everyone else? Did I talk too fast? Okay, guys, have a nice day. Bye.
Kindly subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed this video. Bye.